Hey guys, it's Jeannie here. I want to go ahead and do this quick video. I was thinking about it last night while I was going to sleep, and I feel like it would be a good, you know, way to put awareness out there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about when my dad got a stroke. So just so you guys can see some of the things that were actually going on. So my dad always had high blood pressure, and he also had diabetes, and he always took care of himself as far as home remedies and taking vitamins and things like that, right? So we always felt that that was enough. And so anyway, so he did see some doctors before his stroke. He actually went to several doctors, and a lot of doctors didn't want to treat him because he would get medications and then he wouldn't take them. But there was a reason why he didn't take them, because they were actually making him feel sick. I don't remember one of the names of the medications, but he had gone to go see a doctor. I'm not going to mention any doctors' names, but there was this particular doctor that prescribed him a medication for his blood pressure. Actually, it was like, I think it was one or two medications. And when he got home that day, he hit the floor outside, and it was on. Luckily, he didn't hit like a barbecue pit. There was a barbecue pit, and then there was like all cement, and he didn't hit himself on the barbecue pit on the head, but he did go and hit the grass. Like, he hit really hard. And my dad's a big guy. If you know him, he's a big guy. He's like in I don't know, I think he weighs close to like 400 pounds or something. Like, it was like 350 or three. I really don't know, but he's a big man. Anyway, so he got really scared when that happened. So he stopped taking them, and he kept telling all of us, he kept telling us that he wasn't feeling well, and that he was going to take those medications. There had been another instance where he had taken another medication, and that's what had happened. Anyway, so some of the symptoms that he was having is that he was losing his eyesight. And that was actually really, really devastating for him. He didn't want to lose his eyesight. He was always saying, like, if I lose my eyesight, that's it. Like, I'd rather, kill myself, or like put a gun to my head. He didn't want to lose his eyesight. And I was like, Dad, don't, like, I always thought it was like too dramatic. I was like, Dad, why would you do that? There are other things that God blesses you with. I mean, even if you did lose your eyesight, I mean, I can understand why he would feel that way, because I mean, he was getting old. He was getting weaker. He didn't feel good. He didn't have the energy, and then losing his eyesight was really, really hard on him. So he was also losing his balance a lot. He was actually falling or tripping a lot. He didn't have the balance he used to. Well, okay, we're gonna get to the part of his stroke. The day of his stroke, I'm gonna have to probably cut this into sections and stuff so you guys can kind of understand the whole thing that happened, because it might get a little too long. I'm already gonna be at 4 minutes, and so close to 4 minutes, and I don't want to make it too long. Okay, so the day of his stroke, he did call me earlier that morning, and he told me that there was going to be some show coming on TV, and there was some religious show that was going to come on, and I really didn't pay too much attention to it. I was like, oh, okay, Dad, like, whatever. And he was joking about something, and I don't know what else we talked about, but he did tell me that there was going to be somebody from my church coming to see him. And yeah, so, but he really wanted everybody like to watch that show. Apparently he had called my niece too, and he had called some other people that he wanted people to watch that show. So anyway, so he was actually worried about that day. I guess he was worried about the foreclosure on his home, and he was actually worried about some other foreclosures on some of my relatives. And he was trying to help and stuff like that, because he was able to stop Bank of America from actually foreclosing on the home. And so he had a case with them, and so he had other cases helping other family members so that they wouldn't lose their home. So he had that stress that day, I think. And then, he also met a person from my church. And so it actually happened while he was talking to the person from my church. He actually, um, from what I hear from my mom and from my mom, my dad started, I guess he was talking to him or whatever, and then all of a sudden he just like was closing his eyes and just my mom said she saw like his face kind of go crooked or something for a little while, and he just stopped responding, and he basically like lost complete. I don't know all the details to how he looked. I just know what my mom told me. So basically he just lost everything, complete movement and everything. And so my mom starts calling my brothers, and luckily like everything just happened. I'm still a firm believer that everything happened in the way that God wanted it to happen, and that's the reason why we are so blessed to have him still with us. And so hopefully I don't tear up on this video. I might, guys. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hard topic. But anyway, so it took about, I told you my dad is a really big man, and so they were trying to take him because he was sitting in the front of the entryway. My mom had like two chairs there and a little table, and apparently they were sitting there. So my dad was sitting on one chair, and the person from my church was sitting on the other. So anyway, so he lost the ability to move. He wasn't speaking anymore. He was just whatever. So then when I guess they grabbed him. They all tried grabbing him together. It was the person from my church and my two brothers. They tried putting him on the couch that was in the living room, which was a little bit away, not super far away, but maybe about, I don't know, like 5 or 6 feet away. But carrying such a big man, I mean, is impossible because he's really big. So anyway, so I guess they tried putting him on the couch, and at this point, my dad had already like had he urinated on the couch because he lost complete control of his body, and so he wasn't responding or anything like that. So they called the paramedics, and the paramedics apparently got there really, really fast. And when they called me, I was actually calling my sister, and I told my sister what was going on. She ended up calling one of my aunts that worked at the hospital, at McAllen Medical Center, and she was able to get him into the ER really, really quickly. And so sometimes it really, really pays. I don't know, guys. It was anyway. So they got him to the ER and stuff, and they ended up intubating him, and they did all the ER care and everything, and it was a really, really scary time for us, but everything was lined up accordingly. There is no doubt in my mind that God knew, and he placed everybody where they needed to be placed. And sometimes I feel like, oh, man, I should have just kept a journal because I wanted to write every single detail to explain to you guys how it happened. But I do want to put awareness out there, because if you are seeing that your parent or a family member starts having like a mind fog, like kind of like a brain fog, they need to be taking medications to control that high blood pressure. Now, we were really against all that stuff before. My dad was really against it. I mean, we were really against it. We always felt natural way was the best way, and it probably is. But for people who do not eat properly, who do not exercise the way that they should, I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I mean, I'm far from being perfect. But if you know that the person is diabetic or they have high blood pressure and stuff, my dad was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and he has a bigger heart, and because of it and stuff, and so he was losing his eyesight too, and that was really devastating. He had gone to an eye doctor, and they say that the eyes are the window of the soul, or I don't know how you say it, but anyway, so they can see how long you've been diabetic also. and they can see the pressure that's been going on for a while. And so when my dad went to go see that eye doctor, the eye doctor told him, you know, how long have you been diabetic? And my dad said, oh, a couple of years, you know. He's like, no, you've been diabetic for at least more than 10 years. And my dad was like freaking out how he could say that, right? So anyway, so he didn't want to lose his eyesight and stuff. So I started doing some research because he was really worried about it. And I was always like his right hand person and always trying to, you know, do his research and everything because I'm always on the computer. And so they wanted to, the eye doctor actually wanted to put a needle inside his eye. And so when I researched it, um, anyway, it came out that there was, I didn't want to tell him that because he was already stressed out about losing his eyesight. Maybe I should have, but I don't think he still would have listened. But I did research that when there's a lot of like the diabetes and that there's a lot of pressure in the, that's why my dad's little veins were popping, because there was just so much pressure, you know, from the high blood pressure that he had. And so I guess a little vein had popped or whatever, and that little the blood was actually causing like a layer over his I don't know the name of it. I don't know his pupil. I don't know what to call it, but he was actually just losing his eyesight. So anyway, so he was really devastated about it. And I should have probably warned him at that point that his blood pressure was a big, you know, but I didn't want to stress him out more than he already was. And he wasn't going to take any of the blood pressure medications he was given because, you know, they had made him fall, and it wasn't just once, it was actually twice with those medications, and with another physician they had given him, and he was feeling really, really sick. And the thing is, guys, is that when you have high blood pressure, you know, your body is so used to having it at that high level. So when you try bringing it down, you feel really, really sick because your body is so used to always having it, you know, at a certain level. So that's what the nurses and the doctors would always try to explain to him, but he always felt that, you know, he was just not feeling well. And I mean, I don't blame him. If my heart was, you know, pounding, or if I didn't feel good, I would understand, you know. But anyway, so yeah, those were some of the signs and symptoms that he was going through. He was always sleepy. He was really tired all the time. My dad was always the type of person, and I can totally relate to him because he was always stressed out about the home, you know, being foreclosed on. He was always stressed. Men, that's why men don't last very long, guys, because they always have a ton of stress. They're the providers, the main providers, and I feel so blessed to know that he was a very great provider for our family. We never went hungry. We never had, you know, we never missed out on anything. He was a great provider, and I feel so grateful for having him in my life. And don't ever take your parents for granted, guys. If you see that they're struggling or they're older and that they can't do certain things, do it for them, you know? I mean, I think sometimes we take them for granted. And anyway, that's another story in itself, but I wanted to go ahead and put some awareness out there. I am going to be continuing telling you a little bit more about the story. So if you want to go ahead and click on the next video, I will go ahead and post it right now. I want to go ahead and put awareness out there, and I want to go ahead and try to get some feedback on these videos, because I want to know what we can do, if anybody has gone through a stroke, or, you know, how long it took them to recover and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do another video, and thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't done so, and thanks so much for watching, guys.